Hi and welcome to Best in Tesla. So I was at the e-car expo in Göteborg to check out some of all the new EVs coming to Europe. And we'll talk about some of the new very nice EVs that has come here to Europe, so more videos coming on this topic, so stay tuned for that. But let's start with the true competitor to Tesla, BYD, that has finally come to Europe and not just Norway, and with 3 models so far. And I got to see them all and was actually very impressed with the cars. And then I went home and checked out what these cars actually cost in my country here in Europe, because we always hear about them in China, right? And compared that to Tesla and the competition, and that was actually a bit surprising and made me even more curious about how BYD would actually do in this part of the world, because they have a great product, but the price was quite shocking. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in.
Oh no, oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
So we have talked quite a bit about BYD before. I have never sat in one before I went to Göteborg and checked them out in person. And they felt great, nice build quality, nice material inside in the car. They did use a bit too much piano black plastic for my taste, and they did make some tacky design choices in my opinion, like the purple lights inside the car, the flexible strings inside the Auto 3. But overall, the car really felt nice, and the BYD Han is very good looking. And we do know all the specs, of course, and they are not bad either. So all in all, this would be a great buy. I think most people that would get a BYD Han, for example, would be very happy with this car, no doubt. But it was when I looked up the price that I got the biggest surprise, because the BYD Han is in direct competition with the Tesla Model 3. Very similar cars, both sedans with kind of the similar dimensions, nothing too noticeable here. But when we compare what you get in terms of specs and price, BYD is actually lagging quite a bit behind Tesla here in Europe. Let's put up the specs here side by side. So as you can see, the Tesla Model 3 kind of beats the BYD Han on all specs, especially when we see the Model 3 is cheaper than the BYD Han. You can get the Model 3 Performance cheaper than the BYD Han that is available here in Europe. And then you will still get about 25 kilometers more range, WLTP, top speed about 80 kilometers faster, 0 to 100 kilometers is about 0.7 seconds faster. You will get a frunk with the Model 3 that you don't get with the BYD, and you don't get that extra space underneath the trunk either as you do in your Model 3. So you do get quite a bit more cargo space with the Model 3 than the Han as well. And charging is twice as fast with the Tesla, as the Han can only charge with about 120 kilowatts compared to Tesla's 250 kilowatt peak charge. And on top of that, the BYD Han has an 85 kilowatt hour battery compared to Tesla Model 3's 75 kilowatt hour. So even though the range is very close, BYD needs about 10 kilowatt hours more battery to get that range. So that will of course make the charging even slower for the BYD compared to the Tesla Model 3, as they need to fill up 10 kilowatt hours more batteries to get 25 kilometers less range, and the peak charge is half the speed. And we can of course take the Tesla Model 3 long range, that is the most popular model, and then we are suddenly about the equivalent of $10,000 cheaper than the BYD Han. And now the speed is a bit slower than the Han, 4.4 seconds 0 to 100 kilometers compared to 4 seconds by the Han. But for less than $2,000, you can get the acceleration boost for your Tesla Model 3 if this is important for you, and then the Han and the long-range Model 3 will have the exact same acceleration, and the Tesla Model 3 will still be about $8,000 cheaper. And you will get about 80 kilometers more range than the Han as well, and still much better charging experience with the Tesla that we just talked about. I personally think this is going to be a problem for BYD here in Europe. But let me know what you think. Would you still pay about $10,000 more for a BYD Han over the Tesla Model 3 long range? The Han does have some cool features that the Tesla doesn't have, like a small touchscreen in the back for controls, but there are also things you get with the Tesla that you don't get with the Han. So I think the Tesla Model 3 long range with the acceleration boost is a very good comparison to the BYD Han. But the Tesla undercut the Chinese EV by $8,000. Not sure how many would choose the Han over the Model 3 when it's more expensive. Because BYD Han is actually so expensive here in my country that you can get the Tesla Model Y long range with an enhanced autopilot for about the same price. That is where I think it falls apart for me anyway. The Model Y is a much bigger car with twice the amount of cargo space, and you will still get the same kind of range, but the Tesla is about the second slower but faster top speed, but again much faster charging than the Han. So again, if you live here in Europe and could choose between the Han and the Model Y long range, which one would you pick? Here it would probably be better to compare it to BYD's very big car, the Tang. It beats the Model Y on cargo space for sure, but not by much, as the Tesla still has a very big frunk that the BYD doesn't have, but it is a very big car and it shows in the range that drops all the way down to 400 kilometers WLTP. More than 100 kilometers less than the Tesla Model Y, but again with about 11 kilowatt hour bigger battery. But this one can charge with 150 kilowatts of peak charging, so 100 kilowatts slower than the Tesla Model Y. That will get a lot more miles per minute, as it also has a smaller battery, and you will have to pay about $6 more to fill it up, but get about 20% less range. But of course, you will get a much bigger car. The Tang is a huge car, and a very nice car, I might add, but the price of the Tang is the same as the smaller Han. So still, you can get the Model Y long range from the Berlin factory at the same price. So which one would you pick between these two? But the Tang has been in Norway for more than a year now, and in 2022 they have sold over 1,500 units, so actually a top 22 best-selling EV in Norway so far this year, so not bad. So there definitely is a market for it. But the Model Y of course atop that list as number one in Norway, but I can see why. I think the Auto 3 is much better priced, as the Tesla does not have a small compact car yet. So here the BYD Auto 3 is up against someone like ID3 or the MG4. It is a compact SUV, but it's about the same price tag as an ID3, so about $10,000 cheaper than a Tesla Model 3 standard range. So here it makes more sense pricing the vehicles closer to the competition, but it is getting undercut by the MG4, also from China. That is about $5,000 cheaper than the Auto 3. So my question is, why is the Auto 3 more expensive than the MG4 that gets so many good reviews from Top Gear and CarWow and many others? So it's going to be very exciting to see how well BYD will actually do in Europe. I think they will sell very well here in the beginning, as so many people are desperate to get a good EV, and there is still a long wait time on many models. But when we're starting to get more models here in Europe in high volume, I do think BYD has to lower their price, as they are great EVs, but they cannot handle a price tag that is more than a Tesla. They need to undercut Tesla in my opinion, but we will see what they will do. But it's very cool starting to see all of these many Chinese EVs coming here to Europe, and they are definitely not bad cars as some might think, and will give the old OEMs a run for their money. But Tesla is already earning a lot of money on their EVs, and BYD only just, and Tesla's EVs here in Europe are still cheaper than what BYD is bringing to the table, except the Auto 3 that is cheaper of course. But I think Tesla's more affordable model that is coming out in 2024 will be about $5,000, maybe $10,000 cheaper than the Auto 3 here in my country. So a BYD only has a couple of years before Tesla comes with a car that will be able to undercut their affordable model, just as we see with their mid-size premium models here in Europe. Tesla really sits with the pricing power right now. If they need to, they can lower the price and still earn more money than most other OEMs earn on selling their ICE cars. But someone like BYD can't really lower their price, as they only just make a little bit of profits as it is today. But the economy of scale should make it better and better for BYD going forward, but they need to price their products right in the market. And I think they're too expensive here in Europe, so I hope they will be able to lower their prices over the next couple of years to get to Tesla's price, or maybe even a bit under. But the demand is so high for EVs right now, so maybe it will not matter that they are a bit too expensive during the next couple of years until more and more models come in high volumes mid-decade. But it will be very exciting to follow this rising star in the EV race and see how well they do overseas, as we know it does very well back home in China. But I personally really like the cars and am very impressed by them. Would prefer the Han over the ID.4 for sure, but the price would hold me back from getting one, as it cannot compete with the Tesla Model Y in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.